name's Lindsay Yackel. I'm the Education Program Coordinator at the University of Chicago Celiac Disease Center. I'm also a classically trained chef, and so I do a series of cooking episodes, and today we're going to be making blueberry muffins, gluten-free blueberry muffins. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to start with, I have my recipe here, I don't have it memorized. We're going to start by cracking 2 eggs into our bowl, and to that we will then add half a cup of light tasting oil, so canola oil or avocado oil or an extra light olive oil would even be okay, but it really needs to stay extra light tasting because we don't want that flavor and scent to overpower our blueberry muffins. So there we go, and we have our 2 eggs, and now I'm gonna put in my half a cup of oil, and I'm using avocado oil, but again, it's whatever your preference is, whatever you have, whatever works for you. So vegetable oil, canola oil, any of those things are fine as well. Okay. Oftentimes I pre-measure my ingredients before I start recording, but today I thought since it's muffins and that doesn't take very long, I go ahead and measure all of that while I'm recording. So you're gonna see me reaching back there to get rid of my dirty things pretty regularly. So we're gonna mix this up, and for muffins, you don't have to have a hand mixer or a stand mixer or any of that. A whisk works fine, but we wanna really incorporate the eggs and the oil. So we're really gonna mix it well. You're gonna really whisk it. And it'll get a light yellow consistency and color. Again, we're really light yellow, kind of really well mixed together. So that's that. And then to that, we're gonna add brown sugar, regular sugar, vanilla, and yogurt. So the brown sugar is gonna be 3/4 of a cup. Get that out. You can do a couple different things with the brown sugar. You can use a half a cup and a 1/4 cup, and obviously that makes 3/4 of a cup. Some people have 1 cup measuring cups that actually show the lines for other amounts, 1/4, a half, 3/4. That's what I have. So this measuring cup actually shows me where to fill to get to 3/4 of a cup. So I'm just gonna use my 1 cup. But again, if yours doesn't show you that, you're not comfortable with estimating that, use your half and your 1/4 cup measuring cup. Brown sugar is always supposed to be pressed in. That's how you're supposed to measure brown sugar. You don't keep it loose and fluffy when you're measuring it. You actually pack it into the measuring cup, and that's how you get it to the right amount. So we want to pack it in, get it to 3/4, and then in it goes. And then the next thing we're going to add into there is our regular sugar and regular granulated. That's 1/4 of a cup. That's my 1/4 of a cup measuring cup. My sugar is back here. So I'm going to just scoop it up, rid of that chunk, and in goes my sugar. Okay, so next we have a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm not inclined to measure vanilla. I put vanilla in with my heart, or with your heart. But if you're somebody who has to measure, because that's what you're comfortable with, feel free. Anyhow, that's that. The vanilla isn't going to make or break a baked recipe. Okay, and now a cup of yogurt. Plain yogurt is what this recipe calls for. And I'm just gonna put it in. The nice thing about using yogurt in a recipe like this is it actually has a lot of protein. So we're gonna get some protein. Is it the healthiest recipe ever? No, it still has sugar and things like that in, but at least we are gonna add some protein to it, so that's not a bad thing. And you can use regular yogurt, you can use Greek yogurt, whatever your preferences is fine in this. It all works out just fine. Okay, so there's our yogurt. And we're gonna go ahead and whisk all this together. And again, you can do this by hand. You just wanna make sure you do really thorough job of it. You want to make sure it's really well mixed as you go. Okay, so now because of all that brown sugar, less yellow, more of a tan color. I don't know if that can be seen on the camera, but it's all really well combined together. And this is really the end of the whisking. It's going to get too thick to do any more whisking. So we'll use this spatula that I have here going forward. So now we're going to add our dry ingredients to this. A lot of recipes say, you know, wet ingredients in one dish, dry ingredients in the other, and then combine. I find that muffins are really forgiving. They're not so particular about how you do these things. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and add my dry ingredients right on top, all of them, then I'll mix it together. So we're gonna go with our gluten-free flour. So you want like a 1-to-1 flour is what I use. Typically I use King Arthur's brand. It's one I've had good luck with. It's one I've used for years. I know Bob's Red Mill has a really nice one. And there's another brand called Cup for Cup. It's a nice one too. I use King Arthur, but whatever 1-to-1 type gluten-free flour you have, that should be perfectly fine. So we're gonna go ahead and get this flour. And this recipe needs a total of about 2 1/4 cups. And I've explained this before, but I'll explain it again. I go in with my measuring cup, I fluff it up, and then I fill it and shake it off. Most people will tell you to spoon it into the cup, and that's perfectly fine too. Again, I find muffins are pretty forgiving, so I don't always have to be so careful with it. Lots of other recipes that I make, I'm very careful with. I make focaccia, very careful with that. So it sort of depends on the recipe, but you could always spoon it in, smooth it off to be safe. Okay, so there's my flour. Let's get that out of the way. And then into that, we're gonna add a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of baking powder. Both of those here. And a teaspoon. Okay. So baking soda right on top. And then we're gonna go with the baking powder. And again, smooth that off right on top. Okay. And then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mix that. And I'm just gonna use my spatula, get it all mixed together, incorporated. One of the things I can say about gluten-free baking is because the flour doesn't have the protein in, you don't have the worry of over mixing. So when you're making baked goods with traditional gluten-containing flour, you have to be careful that you don't over mix, because some things don't want that protein mixed too much. And then other things that you make really need the protein. So things like pizza and bread, you mix and mix and mix and really stretch and get that protein activated. And then of course, with traditional flour, if you're making a cake or something like that, it's always don't overmix. You know, the recipes pretty much always say don't overmix. And that's because you don't want that protein activated. You want it to stay nice and light in texture. With gluten-free flours, that protein isn't there, so we don't really have to worry much about overmixing. Anyhow, so there we go. That's all incorporated. You can see this is a pretty thick batter, and that's normal. Okay, so into that we're gonna add, I do both lemon zest and lemon juice in my blueberry muffins. It adds a brightness. I wouldn't say it's lemony flavor. It just adds this kind of background brightness to a fruit muffin. So you could always switch out blueberries for raspberries or, you know, whatever. And then you can also use this recipe, skip the lemon and put chocolate chips in. So skip the fruit and use this base recipe and put chocolate chips in or nuts in or, you know, whatever add-in you want. You can definitely do that. So anyhow, we're just adding in the zest. This is, it's called a microplane, and I use it to zest fruit. Not everybody has it, so whatever tool you have, sometimes a box grater has a small side and you can zest on that. Whatever you have to get that zest out is perfectly fine. So that's there, and then we're actually gonna add the juice too. I forgot to get a knife out. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut that. And then I'm gonna put my hand underneath to catch any seeds that come out. So I'm actually letting the juice run in my hand, in between my fingers. And then in my hand are the seeds. So I'll show you as soon as that runs through. And then you can see in my hand are all the seeds. So that's a nice little way. You could also do this to the side, pull the seeds out, then put the juice in, whatever you're more comfortable with. There's really no wrong answer there. And I'm only gonna do half of it because again, I don't want it to be lemon blueberry muffins. I just want it to be blueberry muffins with a nice brightness to it that the zest and a little bit of juice adds. So getting that all mixed together. Okay, and then next I'm gonna add our cup of blueberries. You can do frozen, you can do fresh. It's getting to be blueberry, you know, a nice blueberry time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the fresh. About a cup of that. And then this is where you wanna mix. This is the only part where you wanna mix gently and not overmix. We don't wanna turn our batter green. And that happens if you break up those blueberries. And we just don't wanna do that. So we're mixing very gently, trying to keep the blueberries as full as possible, but also get them incorporated. Okay, and I think I'm gonna just leave it at that. And try not to break those up. Okay, that's that. So we're gonna go ahead and use our muffin tin. It holds 12, traditional regular size muffin tin. I have liners in, that's my preference. You don't have to use them, but you have to make sure you're spraying the tin so that your muffins don't stick. Spray or, you know, just wipe with some sort of an oil. I actually do a combination of both the liner and spray. So what I'm gonna do, here's a little tip for you, because the spray tends to get everywhere. I actually do it over my sink so it doesn't get it all over my house. This is, again, a neutral flavor avocado oil spray, and I'm just gonna gently spray that. So that's that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start scooping in my batter. So I use this scoop, a little underfilled, because if it's full, if it's completely filled, it's a little too much for this size muffin. So we underfill a bit. Okay, and we just keep going until we've got them all filled. And then these are gonna bake at 375 for roughly 20 minutes. Every oven's a little bit different, but it's gonna be roughly around 20 minutes that they'll bake. And then you do, with a muffin, you can do the same thing as you would do with like a cake, toothpick test, make sure they're done. You know, every oven's a little bit different, so as I'm saying, roughly 20 minutes, your oven could be slightly less, a little bit more, you know, that sort of thing. So anyhow, and I do find that this typically makes more than 12, so I have a little bit more batter here. I have another muffin tin I can use. You're gonna get probably close to 18-ish out of this recipe. So just so you know, and if you only have one muffin tin, one batch, take them out, then, you know, fill part of the tray with the rest of them and cook those. That's fine too. I happen to have two, so I'll work on another one. Anyhow, so this will go in the oven for, like I said, approximately 20 minutes until cooked through, and then we'll come back and I will show them to you whenever they're done. So we're back. My muffins took about 22 minutes, I'd say, to cook through, and here's what they look like. They get lightly golden brown on top, and blueberries stay pretty much whole, especially when you use fresh ones. I find sometimes frozen ones turn the batter more green and can break down a little bit more than fresh blueberries do. And again, you can make this exact same, Alexa, stop. Sorry, this is my real kitchen. Anyhow, so you can make this exact same base recipe, and instead of blueberries, add strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, any of those things that you like. You still would use the lemon zest and the lemon juice with that. But if you want to make a chocolate chip muffin, or a chocolate chip or a nut muffin, or just nut, same recipe, skip the lemon zest and the lemon juice and substitute in the chocolate chips or the nuts for the blueberries. And this is all, you know, on YouTube down below in the description, and all that is the recipe and those kind of helpful tips. So anyhow, that's that. We'll cut into one real quick. I do let them rest. You can see how easy the paper comes off. I do let them rest for, you know, about 5 minutes before we cut into them. Anyhow, so there it is inside. You can see all the blueberries, and that's that. So that's the blueberry muffin recipe. Hopefully you give it a try, and if you do, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And next time we'll be doing a live virtual cooking event, and that will be in May, and it will be a no-bake Nutella pie, and pretty kid-friendly because it's a no-bake. So come back for that one in May. Thanks so much.